Hey, everybody, welcome back to Jordan Lee Tarot. So, I have three decks for you for today. We have the Illuminated Crystallary Oracle deck. I have the hardest time saying that every time. The Ethereal Visions Tarot, and then the Sacred. Yeah, okay, it's one of those days. The Sacred Destiny Oracle. Oh my gosh. All right. Did you ever have one of those days where, things were just a little bit weird? Not even bad, just weird. I've been having one of those days. So bear with me. So, this card that I first pulled from the Crystallary deck, it is kind of blowing my mind because I don't often pull this card. Lessons in Blood. That sounds very, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, we're talking about blood, so I'm like, okay, we better pay attention. Spirit's getting very spicy. Uh, Almandine knows that your storyline doesn't start the day you came kicking and screaming into this world. No, it started so long ago that the stars have since shifted their course in the sky, and the dust of that day has hardened into stone. Your beginnings are carried in your blood in the memory created by each DNA mutation and epigenetic tag. Blood is memory, not just your own, but that of those who came before. You can ride your own blood back to these distant knowings. But more than that, Almandine will help you move and shift that memory, changing what gets carried forward. Sink into yourself, your past's past. Almandine whispers, I have a tale to tell. This is like some sort of epic story that I feel like we're tapping into here. Um, that's very exciting. So, as always, I will try to make this specific for certain storylines, but I think that this is a big general story that many of us have experienced lifetime after lifetime. And take this into resonance with what works to this lifetime as it is now, but also this card seems to pull you back into other lifetimes so that you understand you're not just this empty person that starts out fresh each lifetime. We've lived hundreds of thousands of lifetimes. And so when you feel a special pull towards a specific person, listen to it. There's special meaning behind that. So before we start the actual bulk of the reading, I'm just going to say that I met a lovely woman this morning on a walk with my dog, and we just talked for probably 25 minutes. I felt like we were fast friends, and her daughter offers really awesome like itinerary tours and guidance for Alaska. And, now I'm following her daughter's page, and I recommended a place where she could go, for the rest of her day while she was traveling around the area. And it was just amazing. And I felt that that connection that I made with that particular individual is going to be important. I don't even know how, but even if it was just a beautiful interaction that happened once and then we part ways, that's great too. But I felt like this is going to be something really special, really beautiful. So, all that to say, it felt like I've known her before. And so I look at it like, imagine bumping into someone randomly at the grocery store on a walking path, and you make fast friends with them, but you know that you fought battles next to them, you've waged war with and against them, but um, there's a deep understanding that we play so many different roles in different lifetimes with different souls, and there's a lot of repetition. So it's something that I've experienced in this lifetime where I have deep soul connections with people, romantic and friendship, and then I experience their soul again in a different body in this lifetime. I think it's something that's not unique to me, but I've never heard someone else talk about it before. That you meet somebody and you have a connection with that soul, and then you meet that soul again in a different body, and they just happen to be reincarnated at the same time. And so you get to meet the same soul twice in one lifetime. And I think that's really special. But I also don't think it's that uncommon. It's just that we're not aware of how many times we've gone around and around and around. And so the message that I keep hearing is If you feel like you know somebody, trust that feeling. And don't get too wrapped up in whether your relationship now is good or bad, or whether your relationship back then was good or bad. Everybody is just playing a temporary role, and it's just a constant stage play. And we are learning and growing from every part of it. So, that being said, as we begin, I'm like, oh, 10 of Wands card. Now, the great thing about this card is that it's carrying a heavy burden, and it's the end of that cycle. So we go through many different variances of these cycles, but I think that this is a really big, long cycle of carrying these wands. This could be 100 lifetimes that you've lived, and you're carrying this on your back, and you're like, oh my God, all these experiences, all of these lessons, all of this stuff, that's been happening. That's this 10 of Wands energy. Now, it could just be a card of overwhelm. Sorry, my chair's shifting. I'm bouncing around on my little gooey marshmallow. The other card that I got was the Queen of Pentacles, and then the Ten of Cups, and then the Two of Cups. Now, I say all of this to say, if this is a love reading, this sounds like something that comes out of a time of burden. Um, and this could be a long cycle of lifetimes with a person or an individual that was difficult. And now something is solidifying, and you're getting the emotional fulfillment that you wanted. And this could be a fresh start with someone that you know from many reincarnations and lifetimes. I say that because the other cards that I got were the New Beginnings card with power. Now, this doesn't feel like this doesn't feel like a new beginning that is actually new. This feels like a new beginning that starts a new cycle with somebody from before. So there was a storyline that I was picking up on a while back about a soul partnership where you went through lifetimes in the beginning where things were great, and then a lot of lifetimes in the middle where you were kind of beating each other up because of life circumstance, the roles that you were playing in your lifetimes. And now in this lifetime, there's a deep sense of healing that gets to happen. I'm feeling some of that in this story. It could be slightly different, but it really feels reminiscent of that reading. So I want to go as deep as I can, as deep as spirit will let me go into this storyline. But the new beginnings with the power card, it means there is weight to this new beginning because you've waited lifetimes for it to restart itself. Imagine loving somebody, being terribly pulled away from them in a tragic death, right? As we know, many, star-crossed lovers had these like horrific times where they couldn't be together in certain lifetimes. They were ripped apart, Romeo and Juliet type vibes where maybe there was murder, maybe there was murder suicide. Like, we were very dramatic over the centuries, okay? Um, and now we've come into a time where we're a lot more civilized. We understand emotion, we understand emotional regulation, we understand mental disorders and mental health way better than we ever have before. So imagine what that can do for a relationship that was like destined to be doomed millennia ago when we just didn't understand. Now we can have a conversation and be like, oh, maybe it's my attachment style, oh, maybe it's my past trauma that I'm still dealing with from, my parents and the way they have lived their life. I'm going to clean that up, but I still love you, and let's work on this. These are the types of conversations we're now having in love. And I think they're long overdue. But what I'm trying to say is, I think the people that we're having them with are the people that we like murder suicided with, like in the 1600s. Okay. We were like, oh my God, there's no other option. Let's just kill ourselves and come back in another lifetime together. Right. Okay, great. Like, this is the energy that I'm getting. Okay, there's a lot of weight here. And that initial card, the lessons in blood, it feels like multiple rounds of dying. Okay, I don't know how else to say this. This is such a heavy but beautiful reading that I hope finds the right people. Okay, the people that really understand this. um the other thing that I'm kind of seeing with this is that there's this like shield and the tree kind of coming up out of this feels medieval to me. And I look at this as like many different cycles coming through This is like these reincarnations, these multiple rounds of incarnation and lifetime. And we're finally getting to the point where there are new beginnings that have a lot of power because we are way, way different as souls. Okay? Our souls are growing and evolving with each lifetime, which is, not without a lot of effort. Each time we incarnate as a soul, it is a massive amount of energy, a massive amount of time, and a massive amount of strife and turmoil that if we don't clear out with each cycle, it's going to be extremely difficult to come through and learn those lessons fully. Oscar is barking, he agrees. The other thing I'm seeing here, the other cards that came through, is the coming forward or going forward and the flow. So, what this indicates to me is going forward, you're going to be in a state of flow like you never were before. Again, if you want to look at this as very simple and very linear, this is a relationship that is coming back together and you've learned lessons. This could be someone that you dated in high school and now you're in your 30s and you've kind of learned and lived and maybe each had a marriage and a divorce and now going forward you're a completely different person. You're in that flow state. You understand how to express your needs and you can actually maybe step forward into a healthy version of what you were trying to do when you just didn't know any better. Okay. And that's what I keep hearing. We just didn't know any better, but now we do. Now we know better. So it's a huge difference in energy, in vibe. And I do want to pull from the Destiny Oracle again. I want to go a little deeper into this. I'm trying to make my messages a little shorter, but I don't want to not flow with the full story. I don't want to stop before I feel like spirit's through. Pleasure. I'm hearing grounded pleasure, stable pleasure. This is not flash in the pan, intense, hedonistic pleasure. This is more like a deep contentment. And I feel like that's where we're going with this Two of Cups. Okay. Let's go even deeper, Spirit. What can you tell us that will aid in our understanding? We have the Page of Cups. Definitely could be someone coming forward with this offer. That always feels like an offering card to me, especially with the way that chalice, that cup is being like offered forward. Like, here, do you want this? And it's up to you. Maybe you're the person offering it. Maybe you're the person being given it. Death. This, excuse me, literally speaks to the multiple cycles of dying, of death. I'm hearing soul life regression, and I'm being called to share my story in very brief format. I went to a soul regressionist. When I read the description on her website, the thing that stuck out to me the most was not what I actually experienced in the session, but it was talking about re-experiencing your own death. And for whatever reason, this intrigued me greatly. I thought, what could we gain out of understanding at the moment of a death of a lifetime? Now, like, what could that offer us without being traumatic? Imagine the power that that holds when you take in all of the lessons of a lifetime and you take that last breath of that lifetime. How do those things and experiences and lessons categorize within your mind, in your own little file of facts of your soul, of your own Akashic records? How does that settle into the body? And is there anything we can heal from our past traumas? I strongly believe that I died on the Titanic. I believe that I was actually a very wealthy jeweler on the Titanic and I was with my family and we all died. And I feel that. I sense that. Why would I know that? Why would I feel that? Right? Um, and I had a very traumatic experience when I was trying to learn how to scuba dive. And it was like a moment of all of this repressed feeling came up within me. And it was when you had to put, if any of you have ever learned how to scuba dive, it was when you put all the heavy gear on and you have like the weights in your pockets and things like that. And you have to do the manual kick and reblow of your suit um, in case something happens. You know, it's like learning many safety things in scuba diving. That's really what 95% of what you're learning is how to combat, you know, things not going according to plan. And I think that's smart. But I was so traumatized because my suit was like, you know, it's weighted down and we had to let air out um, of the vest, I believe, and you're sinking down in. And so I had to manually blow, kick, lift above the water line, and blow, and do that in a synchronized way to, um, you know. And even as I'm saying this, like I'm getting very upset. Like internally, I'm starting to feel a little weird. And the, you know, I was starting to go down under the water, and I was having a harder time kicking above the line. And so the instructor had to come over and like manually like pull those extra weights out of my vest so that I would pop to the surface, which is what those weights are for. And I was very stressed out. I knew what I had to do, you know, like my brain was like, this is what we need to do. But in the moment, there was deep panic. And it didn't feel like it was coming from the situation that I was in. And so it took me on a journey to like understand that I had died, I had drowned, I had had a very traumatic drowning death. And remembering that death and the pain and the trauma of that, it feels very real in my body as I sit here right now. So understand that, um, again, going to the simplified version of this could be a love offer that comes after a cycle ends and someone is coming forward in a very spicy, sexy, wonderful way. And that is beautiful. This death card, in a deeper sense, really speaks to the death that has occurred multiple times in multiple lifetimes. And this person wants to actually build something with you now and come forward because they know on some level their soul knows what you guys have been through. And they're like, oh my God, can we please break through these cycles and finally get what we want, which is this 10 of Cups? So I believe that there's a chance for a lot of people to have what they've wanted for millennia. And this is why I don't think that love readings are flaky or nonsensical. And I never shame people for getting confused on the people that come into their life and the high level soulmates and the karmic soulmates and the potential twin flame and the false twin flame. Like there's so many different people that we have reincarnated with, tried to build loving partnership with. Some we have, some we have not. And I will be honest with you, the people that we've had successful, lovely, wonderful partnerships with, they're not typically the people that come back um, to fight through something like this. Typically, these are like star-crossed lovers who are like, can we please get an opportunity to be together? You know, let's learn our other life lessons, but I want to be with this person in one of my lifetimes. And so these are those opportunities, right? These are those wish fulfillments coming to fruition. So imagine the power of love that has been denied for millennia finally getting to come together. How healing is that? How healing is that? That's beautiful. So I'm getting so jazzed just talking about this reading because it feels so powerful. So never let anybody shame you about a love reading. I just always worry that people get themselves confused and tied in knots over trying to make specifics of a situation that is not theirs work. That's my thing. So I try to offer these readings that are powerful, deep, and multi layered so that people really get something out of them. And again, if you want particulars on your story, that's where I say contact a reader, if not me, somebody else, about a particular reading of you and that person. The energies will mesh. You can tap right in and then you can get specific. but anything else just feels like it's doing the specifics of your situation a disservice, because everyone's story is slightly different and there's nuance to it. You know, there's storylines that are similar for sure, but if you really want specifics, get specific. Book a personal reading with me or someone else. And I say that because I might not be the reader for you, but um, I want these relationships to come together. I want these Romeo and Juliet star-crossed lovers to finally get their time together in a lifetime. And they're more forgiving, they're more loving. It's definitely that quintessential, like, high school romance or college romance, and then you go through like a marriage and a divorce and kids, and you come together in your late 50s or 60s, and you have this beautiful romance toward the end of your life, right? But think of that in an entire spectrum of reincarnations. Okay, you're at the end of a cycle of reincarnations, and you finally get to come together with that star-crossed partner that you've deeply loved for millennia, and you just, for whatever reason, your soul lessons didn't mesh up, it didn't work for you guys to actually enjoy that time together as loving partners, but now you do. Now is that time. So I say this with deep love and excitement for everybody who gets to experience this, and just a deep sense of um, reverence for how hard, I'm going to cry, how hard all of these lifetimes have been for many of us. So I'm going to wrap this up. I want to say thank you for being here. I hope my microphone got everything clearly. And until next time, have a beautiful day or night.